somewhere out there, there's a finance influencer telling you to cancel Netflix, brew your own coffee, and meal prep every Sunday like you're training for the Olympics of frugality. And look, I respect the hustle. But I also respect math. And the math tells a very different story. Because here's the thing about conventional personal finance advice. Most of it was written by people who confused being cheap with being wealthy. And those are two very different things. One of them builds a life. The other one just makes you sad at brunch. So today, I want to talk about the money habits that every personal finance guru on the internet tells you are destroying your financial future. Except they're not. And in some cases, they're actually making you richer. These are the 10 so-called bad money habits that actually compound in your favor. Let's get into it. Number 1, ignoring the latte factor. If you've spent more than 5 minutes in the personal finance corner of the internet, you've heard this one. Stop buying the $6 coffee. That's $180 a month. That's $2,160 a year. That's a fortune over 30 years compounding at 10%. And sure, mathematically, that's correct. But here's what that advice leaves out. The latte factor assumes that the only thing standing between you and financial freedom is your caffeine addiction. It doesn't account for the fact that $6 of coffee keeps you sane during an 8-hour workday where you're generating 10, 20, or 50 times that value. It's the financial equivalent of a doctor telling you to cure your back pain by lying very still forever. The latte factor is a distraction. It makes people feel productive about their finances while ignoring the actual levers that move the needle. Income growth, investment decisions, tax efficiency. Nobody retired early because they switched to instant coffee. But plenty of people stayed broke because they optimized pennies instead of dollars. Number 2, paying for convenience. Here is a sentence that will make a frugalist's head explode. Paying someone else to do things you could theoretically do yourself is one of the highest returning financial decisions you can make. Not sometimes, often. Let's use a real example. Let's say you make $50 an hour. Hiring a cleaner costs $120 and takes 3 hours off your plate. That's 3 hours you could bill a client, build a side project, or at minimum, decompress so you don't burn out and quit your job entirely. The cleaner doesn't cost you $120. It costs you negative $30 on the low end and potentially hundreds on the high end. This is called opportunity cost, and it's the most underdiscussed concept in personal finance. Because personal finance culture has convinced an entire generation that suffering through tasks you hate is a virtue. It's not. It's just suffering. Now, is there a limit to this? Obviously, yes. If you're drowning in debt and ordering DoorDash 3 times a day, we need to have a different conversation. But for people with a stable income who are paralyzed by guilt every time they pay for a service, you're doing math wrong. Number 3, not tracking every single expense. Every budgeting app on earth wants you to log your $4.38 parking fee from last Tuesday. And if the act of obsessively monitoring every transaction gives you joy, great. Some people are built that way. But for the rest of us, the cognitive overhead of micromanaging every dollar creates a kind of financial anxiety that actually leads to worse decisions. It's a phenomenon called decision fatigue. And the irony is that people who spend enormous mental energy tracking small expenses often have less capacity left to make good decisions on the things that actually matter, like whether to increase their 401k contribution or how to structure a raise negotiation. The research backs this up too. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people who use detailed mental accounting are actually more likely to make irrational financial decisions because they're exhausted from the friction. So unless you enjoy it, automate the big stuff and stop auditing yourself like the IRS. Number 4, spending money on your appearance. I know. But hear me out. There's a well-documented economic phenomenon sometimes called the beauty premium. It's uncomfortable, and nobody likes talking about it. But studies have consistently shown that people perceived as well-groomed and put together earn measurably more money over their careers. A meta-analysis from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that workers in the top third of attractiveness ratings earn about 10 to 15% more over a lifetime than those in the bottom third. And before you write that off as unfair, which it is, the point isn't to debate whether it should exist. The point is that it does. The right haircut, the right wardrobe, the right pair of shoes for the job interview you need to ace. These aren't vanity expenses. In a lot of cases, they're capital investments with a measurably positive ROI. And yet personal finance advice will tell you that buying a $40 shirt is reckless while silently endorsing the idea of showing up to negotiations in cargo shorts. Number 5, buying things new instead of used. Okay, this one goes the other direction. Buying used is genuinely better for your wallet in a lot of situations. But the bad habit I'm defending here is occasionally buying new when everyone online tells you not to. A new car loses value the second you drive it off the lot. True. But a new car also comes with a warranty, no hidden history, and in some cases, better financing. For people who drive a lot, or who live in places where a breakdown means a tow and a missed workday, the premium for reliability isn't irrational. It's math. The broader point is this. Blanket rules around new versus used are lazy thinking. The right answer depends entirely on your situation, your income, your time, and your risk tolerance. And anyone telling you there's a universal correct answer here probably hasn't thought about it hard enough. Number 6. Not having an emergency fund. Wait, before you close the tab, I'm not saying skip the emergency fund. I'm saying the conventional wisdom around it has become almost comically conservative. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. That's the standard advice. And for someone early in their career with a variable income and limited job security, sure, that makes complete sense. But for someone with stable income, strong job security, and a significant investment portfolio, sitting on 6 months of expenses in cash is costing them money every day. In an environment where the S&P 500 has historically returned around 10% annually and a savings account returns 4 to 5%, holding excessive cash is a drag, not a safety net. The right emergency fund is the one that lets you sleep at night without sacrificing compounding, and that number is different for everyone. Number 7, making emotional purchases. Here's a completely unhinged take. Sometimes buying the thing you want purely because you want it is the most financially healthy decision you can make. Burnout is expensive. Chronic deprivation is expensive. People who white-knuckle through years of extreme frugality and then blow $30,000 on a midlife crisis are more common than any finance influencer will admit. There's actually a concept in behavioral economics called utility smoothing. The basic idea is that evenly distributing consumption over your lifetime tends to produce better outcomes than concentrating all spending at one end. Translation: enjoying some money now isn't the enemy of enjoying money later. Sustainable behavior requires occasional reward. And that's not a character flaw. That's just how humans function. Number 8. Ignoring your credit score. Not destroying it. Ignoring it. There's a difference. Credit score culture has convinced people to make financially suboptimal decisions specifically to improve a 3-digit number. Keeping a balance on a credit card to build credit. Avoiding closing accounts even when they're costing you an annual fee. Opening new cards you don't need. Here's the reality. If you pay your bills on time and don't max out your cards, your credit score will be fine. The marginal difference between a 760 and an 810 on most mortgage products is genuinely tiny. And the mental energy spent chasing the top end of the range is almost never worth it for someone with a responsible baseline. Unless you're about to take on major debt, a healthy credit score is fine. An obsession with a perfect credit score is a distraction. Number 9. Not maxing out your 401k first. Conventional wisdom says max out your 401k, full stop, before doing anything else. And for many people, that's great advice. But for someone with high interest debt, it's not. And for someone early in their career who might need liquidity to take a business risk or move cities for a better opportunity, locking up every available dollar until age 59 and a half has real costs. The bad habit here isn't investing. It's blindly following rules without understanding the trade-offs. Tax-advantaged accounts are powerful. They're not always the first priority. Number 10. Spending money on experiences instead of saving it. And we end with the one that makes frugalists the most uncomfortable. Research from Cornell University and several follow-up studies has consistently found that people derive more lasting satisfaction from experiences than from material purchases. But here's the financial angle that doesn't get talked about. People who invest in high-quality experiences tend to build stronger networks, stronger mental health, and stronger creative capacity, all of which have measurable downstream effects on earning potential. The person who went to the industry conference, the person who took the international trip that gave them a perspective shift, the person who spent money on the dinner where they met their co-founder. These aren't people who ignored their finances. In a lot of cases, these are the people whose finances turned out fine. Saving money is a strategy, not a personality. And treating every dollar not invested as a dollar wasted will make you a very efficient, very miserable machine. The point of all of this isn't that you should spend freely and never think about your finances. The point is that personal finance is personal, and the one-size-fits-all rules that dominate the internet were written for a median person in a median situation. If you're not that person, and most people aren't, the advice might not apply. The best financial habit you can have is thinking clearly about money, not following someone else's rules for it. Drop in the comments which of these you've been told is a bad habit and whether you agree. And if you think I got any of these wrong, tell me that too. I read them all.